The rope burns through her gloves before she feels it. Sable Rowan doesn't stop pulling. Her boots sink into snow that reaches her knees. Each step forward a negotiation with a storm that has no interest in mercy. The wooden sled scrapes behind her, crude and heavy, built from scrap metal and desperation. Wind screams past her ears, stealing sound, stealing warmth, stealing the last clear thought she has about why she's still moving. 50 miles. That's what the broken radio said before it died. 50 miles to the evacuation hub. 50 miles through a blizzard that turned the ridge into a graveyard. She doesn't look back at what she's dragging. If she looks, she'll stop. If she stops, they die. The storm erases her tracks within seconds. Snow falls so thick it feels like drowning in static, white noise made solid. Her breath comes in shallow gasps, each inhale sharp enough to cut. The fur-lined collar of her coat is frozen stiff against her neck. Ice clings to her braid, weighing her head down with every step. Hi viewers, have you ever had to make a choice between your own survival and saving someone else? Drop a comment below. Her hands are numb, not cold numb. There's a difference. Cold still hurts. Numb means the body has stopped negotiating and started shutting down systems it can't afford to maintain. She flexes her fingers inside the gloves and feels nothing. The rope digs into her palms through fabric that should protect her but doesn't. Behind her, one of the wolves growls. Low, pained, alive. She keeps walking. The wind shifts and she stumbles, catching herself against a tree she didn't see coming. Bark scrapes her cheek. Blood warms her skin for exactly 3 seconds before freezing solid. She pushes off and keeps moving because stopping means dying and dying means they die too. She didn't plan this. No one plans to walk into a storm that weather stations called unsurvivable. No one plans to find 3 massive wolves bleeding out in the snow with injuries that look like they fought something with claws made of metal. No one plans to build a sled from stripped branches and tie themselves to creatures that could kill them with a single bite. But Sable learned a long time ago that Omegas don't get plans. They get what's left after everyone else takes what they need. The first wolf is black, fur matted with blood that's gone dark and stiff. The second is gray, lighter, with a gash across its ribs that should have killed it hours ago. The third is the largest, black and silver, with eyes that opened once when she first started pulling and haven't opened since. She doesn't know why she stopped. She was already outside when the evacuation order came through, already checking the backup generator at the edge of the fringe zone because no one else would. Already expendable enough that when the alarm sounded, no one came looking for her. She heard the first wolf before she saw it. A sound that wasn't wind. A sound that was pain trying to stay quiet. She followed it into the clearing and found them collapsed in the snow, breathing shallow, massive bodies too still. Alpha wolves. She knew that before she got close. The size alone told her. The power radiating off them, even unconscious, told her. She should have left. That's what survival looks like for people like her. See the danger. Walk away. Let someone else handle it. But there was no one else. The storm had already swallowed the ridge. The evacuation transports were gone. The radio was dying. And these wolves, alphas, predators, creatures built to dominate, were bleeding out in the snow like anything else that breaks. So she built the sled. She used branches stripped from fallen trees, rope from her repair kit, and metal stakes she'd been carrying for fence work. She dragged each wolf onto the platform one at a time, muscles screaming, breath coming in sobs she didn't let turn into sound. She bound them down. She tied the rope around her waist because her hands couldn't hold it for 50 miles. And then she started walking. That was 14 miles ago. Or 20. She's lost count. Time doesn't move right in a blizzard. It stretches and compresses. Seconds feel like hours. Hours vanish into white. She marks progress by pain. The burn in her thighs. The ache in her shoulders. The way her lungs have started to rattle with each breath. The wolves shift behind her and the sled jerks sideways. She braces, leans into the weight, keeps moving. One of them is waking up. She can hear it in the breathing, the way the growl turns restless instead of unconscious. She doesn't turn around. If it wakes fully, If it realizes what's happening, it might bolt. It might attack. It might do 100 things that end with her dead in the snow. But it doesn't. It settles. The sled keeps moving. Her vision starts to blur at the edges. Not from snow. From exhaustion. From cold that's worked its way so deep into her body that she can't remember what warm feels like. She blinks hard, focuses on the shape of the trees ahead, and keeps walking. The wind dies for exactly 10 seconds. In that silence, she hears something that isn't the storm. Voices, distant, faint, human. Her heart kicks hard against her ribs. She tries to walk faster and her legs buckle. She catches herself on the sled, gloves slipping on ice-covered rope, and forces herself upright. Lights appear ahead. Yellow, flickering, generator-powered. The evacuation hub. She's made it. Her legs give out. She goes down hard, knees slamming into snow, hands still tied to the rope. The sled drags forward with momentum and stops inches from her body. One of the wolves lifts its head. Eyes open, gold, burning. It looks at her. She looks back. And then the world tilts sideways and she realizes she's not standing anymore. She's on her side in the snow. The lights are closer now. Voices louder. Footsteps crunching. Someone shouts. She tries to answer and nothing comes out. Her throat is raw. Her lips are cracked. Her body has stopped taking orders. The last thing she sees before everything goes dark is the wolf still watching her. Not with hunger, with something else. Will Sable survive long enough to get help? Or has the storm already taken too much? Hands grab her shoulders and she flinches awake. The world is too bright, too loud. Voices overlap, sharp and quick. Words she can't piece together yet. Someone is pulling at the rope around her waist. Someone else is yelling about protocol. Sable tries to sit up and her body refuses. Every muscle has locked. Every joint has frozen. She's still tied to the sled. Cut the rope, a voice says. Male, impatient. Not yet. We need to see. Cut it now. The rope goes slack and she gasps, air rushing into her lungs too fast. Her ribs scream. Her hands are still curled into fists, fingers locked around nothing. Someone peels her gloves off and she hears herself make a sound she doesn't recognize. Frostbite, another voice says. Clinical, detached, 2nd degree at least. She forces her eyes open. The evacuation hub. She's inside. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead, harsh and yellow. Cots line the walls. People move in organized chaos, carrying supplies, shouting updates, ignoring her completely now that the rope is cut. She's on the floor, still on the floor. No one has moved her to a cot. The wolves, she tries to say. Her voice comes out as a rasp, barely audible. No one responds. She turns her head and sees the sled 10 feet away. The 3 wolves are still there, still unconscious, still bleeding. One of them has its eyes half open, gold irises tracking movement with the sluggish focus of something barely holding on. A man in a gray enforcement jacket crouches next to the sled, tablet in hand. He's scanning something, taking readings. His expression is flat. No tags, he says to someone behind him. No identification. Wild then, the other voice replies. Probably. Sable pushes herself up onto her elbows. Her arms shake. Her vision swims. She doesn't care. They're injured, she says louder this time. They need help. The enforcer glances at her. His eyes flick to the Omega designation glowing faint on the tablet screen still propped nearby, then back to her face. He doesn't answer. He stands and walks away. She stares at the space where he was standing and feels something crack open in her chest. Not surprise, not shock. Just the dull, familiar ache of being exactly as invisible as she expected to be. Someone else approaches. Younger, female, medic insignia on her jacket. You need treatment, the medic says, kneeling beside Sable. Your hands. The wolves first, Sable interrupts. The medic blinks. I'm sorry. They're dying. They need a medic. They're animals. the medic says, not unkindly, just factual. We're treating people first. Sable looks past her at the rows of cots. Half of them are empty. You have space, she says. For people, the medic repeats. She reaches for Sable's wrist, checking her pulse. You dragged them here? 50 miles. The medic's hands pause. She looks at Sable properly for the first time. Really looks. Takes in the split skin on her cheek, the ice in her hair, the way her entire body is shaking with exhaustion she can't control. 50 miles. The medic repeats slowly. Sable nods. The medic glances at the wolves. Sable. Back at the wolves. I'll see what I can do, she says quietly. She stands and walks toward the coordination desk. Sable doesn't believe her. She's been told, I'll see what I can do her entire life. It's the phrase people use when they mean no, but don't want to say it directly. It's the phrase that sounds like help but delivers nothing. She tries to stand. Her legs won't hold her. She gets halfway up and collapses back down, palms slamming into the cold tile floor. Pain shoots through her frostbitten fingers and she swallows the sound that wants to escape. Behind her, one of the wolves whines. Soft, broken. She turns and sees the largest one watching her. The black and silver one. Its eyes are open now, fully focused. And there's something in them that doesn't belong in an animal. Recognition. Her breath catches. The wolf's ears flick forward. Tries to lift its head and fails. Blood seeps from the wound across its shoulder, pooling on the sled, dripping onto the floor. Don't move, Sable whispers. Please, just don't move. The wolf settles, still watching her. She drags herself closer. Her body protests every inch. She doesn't care. She reaches the sled and presses her shaking hand against the wolf's massive head. His fur is matted with ice and blood. His breathing is shallow. I got you here, she says. Her voice cracks. That's the hard part. You just have to hold on. The wolf's eyes close. She feels its heartbeat under her palm. Slow. Too slow. Footsteps approach from behind. Miss, you need to step away from the animals. She doesn't move. Doesn't look up. Miss, they're dying, Sable says flatly. And no one is helping them. That's not our priority right now. Then what is? The enforcer, different one this time, older, with a scar across his jaw, steps into her line of sight. He's holding a scanner. We're processing evacuees, he says. Once everyone is logged and assigned shelter, we'll assess resource allocation for non-human assets. Non-human assets. Sable looks at him, at the scar, at the enforcer insignia, at the way he's standing with his weight shifted slightly back, ready to move if she becomes a problem. They saved people, she says. What? These wolves. They saved people on the West Ridge. That's how they got injured. Fighting off. She stops. She doesn't actually know what they fought. She found them after. But the wounds are defensive, protective. She knows that much. The enforcer's expression doesn't change. Do you have proof? She stares at him. Proof. Documented evidence of the incident you're describing. I dragged them 50 miles through a blizzard. That's my proof. That's not how this works. The enforcer taps something on his scanner. A red light flashes. Denied. You'll need to move them outside, he says. We can't have unregistered animals in the primary evacuation zone. It's -20 out there. I understand that. They'll die. That's not my call to make. Sable's hands curl into fists. Pain screams through her frostbitten fingers. She doesn't let it show on her face. Whose call is it? She asks. The enforcer gestures toward the coordination desk. Chief Coordinator Voss. But he's managing the evacuation. You won't get through to him tonight. Then I'll wait. Outside. No. The enforcer's jaw tightens. Miss, I'm trying to be patient, but you're interfering with emergency operations. I'm asking for help, and I'm telling you we don't have the resources. Sable looks past him at the half-empty cots, at the supply station stocked with medical equipment. At the enforcers standing around doing nothing because the evacuation is already over and everyone who made it is already inside. Everyone who mattered, anyway. You have the resources, she says quietly. You just don't think they're worth using. The enforcer's hand moves to his belt. Not to a weapon, to a radio. Security to intake, he says into the receiver. We need assistance removing an uncooperative evacuee. Sable's heart kicks against her ribs. She looks at the wolves, at the black and silver one still watching her with eyes that shouldn't be that aware, at the others barely breathing. She thinks about 50 miles, about the storm, about dragging their weight when her body begged her to stop, about every single step she took because no one else was going to. And she thinks about the glass vial hidden in the inner pocket of her coat. The suppressant she's been taking since she was 16. The one that keeps her scent muted. The one that makes her invisible. The one that keeps her safe. Her hand moves to her coat. 2 security officers step through the entrance, boots heavy on the tile. Miss, we're going to need you to come with us, one of them says. Sable's fingers close around the vial. She looks at the wolves one more time, at the people who decided they didn't matter, at the system that decided she didn't matter, and she makes a choice that will rewrite everything. What happens when Sable stops staying invisible? The cold is inside her now, not on her skin, not in her lungs, deeper, in her bones, in the spaces between thoughts. The kind of cold that doesn't care if you find shelter because it's already made a home in you. Sable walks and the world narrows to 3 things. The rope, the sled, the next step. Everything else is white noise. The storm swallows sound, swallows light, swallows the difference between sky and ground until she's moving through a void that has no edges. Her feet find purchase in snow she can't see. Her hands pull weight she stopped calculating miles ago. 20 miles in, her lips crack and bleed. She licks them and tastes copper. 30 miles in, she stops feeling her toes. She doesn't stop walking. The wolves shift behind her. She hears it more than feels it. The scrape of claws on wood, the rustle of fur against rope. One of them is moving, restless, dreaming or dying. She doesn't know which. She doesn't look back. If she looks back, she'll see how much blood they're losing. She'll see the way their breathing has gone shallow and uneven. She'll see how impossible this is, and her body will give her permission to stop. So she doesn't look. She just pulls. Her mind starts to drift around mile 32. Not sleep, not unconsciousness, something else. A kind of half-aware floating where her body keeps moving but her thoughts detach and wander into places she usually keeps locked down. She remembers being 12. Standing in the pack coordinator's office while he explained why her mother's emergency medical request had been denied. Resources are allocated based on pack contribution, he'd said. Your mother hasn't worked a shift in 6 months. She was dying, Sable had whispered. The coordinator hadn't even looked up from his paperwork. We all have to make sacrifices. Her mother died 4 days later. Sable learned what sacrifice meant when you weren't worth the cost of saving. The wind picks up and she stumbles. Her knee hits something hard beneath the snow. A rock, a root, something that doesn't give. Pain shoots up her leg and she gasps, catches herself on the rope, keeps moving. Blood soaks through her pants. She doesn't stop. Around mile 35, she starts talking. Not to herself, to them. I don't know your names, she says. Her voice is raw, barely audible over the wind. I don't know if you can hear me, but I need you to hold on. The largest wolf, the black and silver one, makes a sound. Not a growl, something softer. She keeps talking. I'm not strong, she says. I'm not. People don't look at me and think I'm capable of anything important. They look at me and see someone who fixes things quietly. Someone who doesn't ask for much. Someone who's easy to ignore. Her foot catches and she goes down hard. Knees slamming into snow. Hands still bound to the rope. The sled drags forward and stops when the weight of the wolves settles. She kneels there for 10 seconds. 20. Breathing hard. Then she stands and keeps walking. But I'm still here, she says. And you're still breathing. So maybe that's enough. The storm answers with silence. Mile 38, her vision starts to fracture. Not blurry, fractured, like looking through broken glass. She sees the trees ahead, and then she sees her childhood bedroom. She sees the snow, and then she sees the community hall where she once stood in line for 3 hours to register for a work permit, only to be told Omegas didn't qualify for the position. She blinks hard and the visions scatter. But they keep coming back. She sees her mother's face, pale, tired, smiling anyway. She sees the enforcer who laughed when she asked if there was emergency transport available for fringe zone families. She sees every single person who looked past her like she was furniture. The wolf behind her growls. Sharp. Warning. She stops walking. Her heart slams against her ribs. She turns slowly, every muscle screaming in protest, and sees the black and silver wolf on its feet. Not standing. Swaying. Barely upright. Blood drips from its shoulder onto the snow. Its eyes are locked on something behind her. She turns forward again. There's nothing there. Just snow. Just wind. Just the same endless white she's been walking through for hours. The wolf growls again. Louder. And then she hears it. A crack. Sharp. Distinct. Ice-breaking. She takes a step back and the ground beneath her shifts. Not snow. She's walked onto a frozen stream without realizing it. The surface is holding, but barely. The wolf lunges. It shouldn't be able to move. It's half dead. It's losing blood with every heartbeat. But it moves anyway, throwing its weight against the sled, tipping it sideways. The other 2 wolves tumble off into the snow. The sled slides away from the weak ice. Sable scrambles back, rope still tied to her waist, pulling her toward the collapsing surface. The wolf clamps its jaws around the rope. Not her. The rope. It pulls. She falls backward onto solid ground just as the ice gives way. Water surges up through the break, black and fast. If she'd taken 3 more steps, she'd be under it. She'd be dead. The wolf collapses. His legs buckle and it goes down hard, breathing ragged. Blood pools beneath it, soaking into the snow. Sable crawls toward it. Her hands shake. Her whole body shakes. "You saved me," she whispers. The wolf's eyes find hers. Gold. Burning. Aware. It makes a sound that's almost a whimper. She presses her hand to its head, fingers sinking into blood-matted fur. "I know," she says. "I know it hurts. Just a little longer. Please." The wolf's eyes close. She stays there for 30 seconds. 40. Until she's sure it's still breathing. Then she gets up, reties the sled, and keeps walking. Mile 40, she starts to hallucinate. She sees lights that aren't there, hears voices calling her name, feels hands on her shoulders pulling her back when there's no one behind her. She ignores all of it. Mile 43, she falls again. This time she doesn't get up right away. She kneels in the snow and lets herself feel how tired she is, how much every part of her body is begging to stop. One of the wolves moves, the gray one. It drags itself forward, inch by inch, until it's pressed against her side. Its body is warm, warmer than it should be. It's using the last of its energy to keep her from freezing. She starts crying and doesn't realize it until tears freeze on her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispers. The wolf doesn't move, just stays there, bleeding, dying, keeping her warm. She stands, pulls the rope, keeps walking. Mile 47, the wind dies, just stops, like the storm decided it was done with her. The silence is so loud it hurts. She keeps walking. Mile 49, she sees them. Real lights this time. Yellow, flickering, generator-powered. The evacuation hub. She tries to run and her legs buckle. She goes down, gets up, keeps moving. The lights get closer. Voices. Real ones. Human. She opens her mouth to call out and nothing comes. Her throat is ruined. Her voice is gone. So she just keeps walking. 50 miles. She's made it. Her knees give out 10 feet from the entrance. She collapses forward and the world tilts. Hands grab her. Voices shout. Someone cuts the rope. The last thing she feels before everything goes dark is the black and silver wolf's eyes on her. Still watching, still aware, still alive. After dragging them 50 miles, will anyone actually help? Or did she survive the storm just to face something worse? The laughter starts before she finishes explaining. Not loud, not cruel, just reflexive. The kind of laughter that happens when someone says something so absurd the room doesn't know how else to respond. Sable stands at the intake desk, hands wrapped in gauze that's already soaking through with blood from her frostbite. The fluorescent lights above buzz and flicker. Her vision swims. She grips the edge of the desk to stay upright. "They need medical attention," she says again, slower this time, clearer. "The wolves, they're injured. They saved people on the West Ridge and they need." "We don't treat animals," the coordinator says. He doesn't look up from his tablet. His name tag reads Voss. Gray hair, deep-set eyes. The kind of face that spent years making decisions that hurt people and learning to sleep fine afterward. "They're not just animals," Sable says. "They're wild predators that you dragged into an emergency shelter without authorization." Voss interrupts. His tone is flat, administrative, which, I should mention, is a violation of evacuation protocol. Someone behind her snickers. Sable's hands tighten on the desk. Pain screams through her fingers. She doesn't let go. "I need to speak to whoever's in charge of medical allocation," she says. Voss finally looks up. His eyes flick to her Omega designation on the scanner, then to her face. The corner of his mouth twitches. Not quite a smile, just acknowledgement. "That would be me," he says. Silence. Sable feels the room watching. Not helping, not intervening, just watching. "Then I'm asking you," she says. "Please, just one medic. One exam. They're dying." Voss sets his tablet down. He folds his hands on the desk and leans forward slightly, like he's about to explain something to a child. "Miss Rowan," he says, reading her name off the scanner. "I understand you've had a difficult journey, but we have limited medical personnel and a facility at capacity. We prioritize human lives. I'm sure you understand." "Your facility isn't at capacity," Sable says. She gestures toward the rows of cots behind her. Half of them are empty. Supply crates sit unopened in the corner. 3 medics stand near the back wall doing nothing. Voss's expression doesn't change. "Our resources are allocated based on projected need, not current availability." "That's not an answer. It's the answer you're getting." More laughter. Quieter this time. A woman near the supply station whispers something to the man next to her. He grins. Sable's pulse pounds in her ears. She looks past Voss at the medic station, at the equipment, at the people standing around because the emergency is already over and everyone who mattered already made it inside. "How far did you walk?" she asks. Voss blinks. "Excuse me? To get here, how far did you walk?" "I was transported by official convoy." "So 0 miles, Sable says. "You walked 0 miles. You sat in a heated transport while people like me dragged ourselves through a blizzard because no one came for us." The room goes quiet. Voss straightens. His jaw tightens. "Miss Rowan, I'm going to ask you to lower your voice." "I'm not raising it," Sable says. Her voice is steady. Too steady. The kind of calm that comes right before breaking. "I'm asking for help. That's all I've done since I got here. And all you've done is tell me no." "Because the answer is no," Voss says sharply. "We are not allocating medical resources to animals. If you can't accept that, you're welcome to leave." "And go where?" "That's not my concern." Sable stares at him, at the enforcer insignia on his jacket, at the way his fingers drum against the desk like he's already bored with this conversation. She thinks about her mother, about the coordinator who denied her treatment, about every person who ever looked at her and decided she wasn't worth the effort. "You're going to let them die," she says quietly, "because you've decided they don't matter." "I've decided," Voss says slowly, "that human lives take priority. If you have a problem with that, file a complaint with the regional office once the storm clears." Someone laughs again, louder this time. A voice from the back calls out. She dragged dogs through a blizzard and thinks she's a hero. Another voice, "This isn't a fairy tale, sweetheart." The words land like ice water. Sable's breath catches, not from shock, from recognition. She's heard this before. Different words, same message. You don't matter. What you care about doesn't matter. Sit down. Be quiet. Accept it. She looks around the room, at the faces watching her. Some amused, some uncomfortable. None of them stepping forward to help. She sees an Omega woman near the water station. Their eyes meet. The woman looks away. She sees a young enforcer shifting his weight, mouth tight, like he wants to say something but won't. She sees Voss watching her with the patience of someone who knows he's already won. Remove the animals from the intake zone, Voss says to the enforcers standing nearby, and escort Miss Rowan to general population housing. 2 enforcers step forward. Sable doesn't move. "Miss Rowan," one of them says. His hand hovers near her elbow. "Let's make this easy." She looks at the wolves. They're still on the sled near the entrance, still bleeding. The black and silver one has its eyes open, watching her. The others are unconscious, barely breathing. She dragged them 50 miles. She carried their weight when her body begged her to stop. She saved them. And now she's being told to let them die because people like Voss have decided that's how the rules work. Her hand moves to her coat, to the inner pocket, to the small glass vial she's carried for 8 years. The suppressant that keeps her scent muted, that keeps her safe, that keeps her invisible. Her fingers close around it. The enforcer's hand settles on her shoulder. "Miss!" Sable crushes the vial. Glass shatters against her palm. The liquid burns. She feels it soak into her skin, into her bloodstream, breaking down the chemical barrier she's maintained since she presented. The room goes silent. Not quiet, silent. Every alpha in the space stiffens. Conversations stop mid-word. The enforcers at the doors freeze. Voss's hand jerks toward his throat like he's choking. Sable's scent floods the evacuation hub. Not perfume, not pheromones meant to seduce. Just her. Undiluted, unmistakable. Omega, bonded to nothing, bound to no one. And something else. Something that makes every alpha in the room take an involuntary step back. Power. Outside, one of the wolves growls. Low, furious, protective. The sled splinters. Wood cracks. Rope snaps. 3 wolves surge to their feet, bodies convulsing, bones breaking and reforming. The transformation is violent. Wrong. They're too injured to shift. Their bodies can't handle it. They do it anyway. Fur recedes. Limbs extend. Claws become fingers. 3 men collapse onto the floor. Massive, bloodied, shaking, and the power that slams outward from them is enough to drop every alpha in the room to their knees. What happens when the most powerful alphas in the region realize the Omega they dismissed just saved their lives? The gym floor cracks, not from weight, from power, from 3 alpha wolves forcing human form through injuries that should have killed them hours ago. The air pressure changes, drops, then surges. Every light in the building flickers. Sable doesn't move. She stands at the intake desk, blood dripping from her palm where the vial shattered, and watches the world rearrange itself around her scent. The first one to fully transform is the largest. Black hair, broad shoulders, a scar running from his collarbone to his ribs that's still bleeding. He hits the ground on his hands and knees, head bowed, breathing like he's drowning. The second is leaner, gray eyes, sharp features, blood matting his hair. He collapses sideways, catches himself, stays down. The third has silver streaks in his dark hair. Older, harder, a gash across his shoulder that's torn open wider from the shift. He doesn't try to stand. He just kneels there, shaking. Every alpha in the room is on their knees, not bowing, collapsing. Their bodies react before their minds catch up. Instinct overrides control. Submission floods through them like a chemical reaction they can't fight. Voss is on the floor, face pale. hands pressed flat against the tile like he's trying to anchor himself. The enforcers are down. The medics, the coordinator at the supply station, all of them. Sable looks at her bleeding hand, at the broken glass embedded in her palm, at the scent suppressant soaking into her skin and breaking apart the barrier she's maintained for 8 years. She didn't know it would do this. She just wanted them to see her. The largest man lifts his head. His eyes find hers. Gold, burning, familiar. The black and silver wolf. You, he says. His voice is raw, broken. You carried us. Sable's breath catches. She knows that voice. Not from the wolves. From before. From broadcast. From news coverage. From the stories people tell about power and legacy and bloodlines that rule entire regions. Malach Castellan, Alpha King of the Northern Packs. The second man looks up. Gray eyes locked on her face. Corvek Thorn, Alpha King of the Eastern Territories. The third man's gaze is steady despite the blood loss. Malach Ashford, Alpha King of the Western Ranges. The Triplet Alpha Kings. Brothers, rulers, legends. And she dragged them 50 miles through a blizzard without knowing who they were. Rhydian tries to stand. His legs buckle. He goes down hard, catches himself on his forearms. Blood hits the floor. Don't, Sable says. Her voice comes out steadier than she feels. You're hurt. All of you. You need. We need nothing, Corvek interrupts. His voice is sharp, desperate. Nothing but you. The room is silent. Every person watching. Every alpha still on their knees, unable to rise until the power radiating from the triplets eases. Sable looks at them, really looks, at the injuries, at the blood, at the way they're trembling from the shift their bodies couldn't handle. You almost died, she says quietly, because people like you taught this room that power matters more than urgency. Rhydian flinches like she hit him. Malach closes his eyes. Corvek's hands curl into fists against the tile. You're right, Rhydian says. His voice cracks. You're right. We built this. We taught them. And you, he stops, swallows hard. You carried us anyway. 50 miles, Malach adds. His eyes open, gold like his brother's, filled with something that looks like awe and grief mixed together. Through a storm no one else would enter. You're hurt, Corvek says. He's looking at her hands, at the blood, at the way she's swaying on her feet. God, you're barely standing. So are you, Sable replies. We heal, Rhydian says. Not fast enough. Silence. The triplets look at each other. Some unspoken conversation happening in glances. Then Rhydian turns back to her. We don't deserve you, he says. Sable's chest tightens. That's not why I carried you. Then why? Corvek asks. You didn't know who we were. You didn't know what we could give you. Why risk your life? She thinks about her mother, about every Omega left behind, about the wolves bleeding in the snow with no one coming to help them. Because no one else would, she says simply. The words land like a blow. Rhydian's head drops. Malach's jaw tightens. Corvek makes a sound that's almost a sob. Behind them, Voss tries to stand. His legs shake. He gets halfway up and the power from the triplets surges again. He goes back down. Stay down, Malach says without looking at him. His voice is cold. Absolute. All of you, stay down. The room obeys. Sable's vision blurs at the edges. Exhaustion, blood loss, cold that's worked so deep into her body she can't shake it out. She grips the desk harder. You need medical care, Rhydian says. He's watching her like she might collapse, like he's ready to catch her if she does. Let us. No, Sable interrupts. Get them medical care. She points at the triplets, at the injuries still bleeding. Or I leave. And the storm finishes what you started. The threat is absurd. They're Alpha Kings. They could command every person in this building to obey. They could force her to stay. But they don't. Rhydian nods once. Sharp. Final. Get medics, he orders. His voice carries. Absolute. Now. 3 medics scramble to their feet. They move fast, grabbing supplies, setting up a mobile station. No one argues. No one hesitates. Voss tries to speak. "You can't just be silent," Malach says. Voss's mouth snaps shut. His face flushes red. Fury, humiliation. He stays on his knees and says nothing. The medics reach the triplets, start assessing injuries. One of them looks at Sable. "You too," the medic says gently. "Please." Sable shakes her head. "Them first. You're in shock. You need them first," Sable repeats. The medic looks at Rhydian. He nods. "Do what she asks," he says. They work in silence, cleaning wounds, stitching gashes, wrapping injuries that should have been treated hours ago. The triplets don't flinch, don't complain. They just watch Sable like she might disappear if they look away. Someone brings her a chair. She doesn't sit. Someone offers her water. She drinks half and sets it down. The room is still silent, still frozen, waiting. Corvek speaks first. "We owe you our lives," he says. "You don't owe me anything," Sable replies. "We owe you everything," Malach corrects. "And we will spend the rest of our lives proving it." Sable looks at them, at the three most powerful alphas in the region kneeling on a gym floor, bloodied and broken, staring at her like she's something sacred. She thinks about the laughter, about Voss's dismissal, about the system that decided she didn't matter. "I don't want your lives," she says quietly. "I want change." Rhydian's eyes widen. "What? This?" Sable gestures at the room, at the people still on their knees, at the half-empty cots and the unopened supplies. "This system, the one that prioritizes power over need, the one that leaves people like me behind. I want it gone." The triplets stare at her. "Done," Rhydian says immediately. "You don't even know what I'm asking for." "We don't care," Corvek says. "Whatever you want, however you want it, it's yours." Sable's hands shake, not from cold, from something else, something that feels like power but tastes like grief. "I want Omega representation in emergency protocols," she says. "I want evacuation priority rewritten. I want accountability for coordinators who decide lives don't matter." "Done," Malach says. "All of it." "I'm not finished," Sable says. "I want." She stops. Her vision swims. The room tilts. She's losing too much blood. Been cold too long. Pushed too hard. Her knees buckle. Rhydian moves. He shouldn't be able to. He's barely stitched together. But he moves anyway, crossing the distance in 2 strides, catching her before she hits the ground. His arms close around her. Warm. Steady. "I've got you," he whispers against her hair. "I've got you." Sable tries to pull away. Her body won't cooperate. "You're hurt," she says weakly. "So are you," Rhydian replies. "And you've been carrying us long enough." The world goes dark at the edges. The last thing she hears before unconsciousness takes her is Corvek's voice, broken and reverent. "Our Luna," he says. "She's our Luna." The most powerful alphas in the region just claimed her. But will Sable accept a bond built on gratitude, or demand something more? She wakes to silence. Not the storm, not voices, just the steady hum of a generator and warmth she hasn't felt in days. Sable opens her eyes. White ceiling, medical bay, the smell of antiseptic and clean bandages. Her hands are wrapped in fresh gauze, elevated on pillows, and 4 runs into her arm. She's alone. She sits up too fast and her vision tilts. Pain shoots through her frostbitten fingers. She ignores it and swings her legs over the side of the bed. The door opens. A medic walks in. Young. Female. The same one from the intake desk. "You shouldn't be moving," the medic says, rushing forward. "Where are they?" Sable asks. "The Alpha Kings are in recovery. They're stable. You saved their lives. I need to see them. You need rest. You've been unconscious for 16 hours. Sable stands anyway. Her legs shake. She grabs the 4-pole for balance. "Miss Rowan, please." "I'm leaving," Sable says. With or without your permission. The medic stares at her, then sighs. They said you'd say that. Who? All three of them. They left orders. If you woke up, we were to bring you to them immediately. The medic's expression shifts. Something like respect. No one's ever given orders like that before. Not about an Omega. Sable's chest tightens. She doesn't know what to do with that information. Doesn't know if she wants it. The medic helps her into a wheelchair despite her protests. Wheels her through hallways that smell like institutional cleaning supplies and old concrete. They pass windows showing morning light. The storm has stopped. Snow covers everything in white silence. They reach a door marked Private Recovery. The medic knocks once. Doesn't wait for an answer. Pushes the door open. 3 beds. 3 men. All of them sitting up despite the bandages, despite the injuries, despite the medics probably telling them to stay down. Rhydian sees her first. His face changes. Relief. Guilt. Something else. You're awake, he says. So are you, Sable replies. You should be resting. We tried, Corvek says from the second bed. His arm is in a sling. Stitches run across his ribs. Couldn't sleep. Too worried. Malach adds. His shoulder is wrapped. His face is pale but his eyes are sharp. Focused on her. The medic positions the wheelchair near the beds and leaves quietly. Silence settles. Sable looks at them. At the 3 most powerful alphas in the region sitting in a recovery room like anyone else who almost died. The room waited for me to punish you, she says quietly. Rhydian's jaw tightens. We know. They wanted me to humiliate you, to make you beg, to take what you did to others and give it back. We would have accepted it, Corvek says. Whatever you chose. I know, Sable says. That's why I didn't. Malach leans forward slightly, winces, settles back. Why? Sable thinks about the gym, about Voss on his knees, about every alpha in that room waiting for spectacle. Because revenge doesn't fix anything, she says. It just makes the audience feel better. The triplets stare at her. You're angry, Rhydian says. Not a question. An observation. Yes, you should be. I am, Sable says. But not at you specifically. At what you represent. At the system that let you rule without accountability. At every person who looked at me and decided I didn't matter enough to help. Corvek's hands curl into fists. We'll fix it. You can't, Sable says. Not alone. Not quickly. Not without breaking everything first. Then we'll break it, Malach says simply. Sable looks at him. At the certainty in his voice. At the way all 3 of them are watching her like she's the only thing that matters. What do you want from me? She asks. Nothing, Rhydian says immediately. Everything, Corvek corrects. But only what you're willing to give. We want you to stay, Malach says. We want the bond. We want you as our Luna. But we won't force it. We won't claim you without consent. We won't. The bond is political, Sable interrupts. They freeze. It's not about love, she continues. It's about power, about legitimacy, about control. Yes, Rhydian admits. Usually. But not with you, Corvek adds quickly. Then what is it? Sable asks. Gratitude? Guilt? Obligation? The question hangs in the air. Rhydian speaks first. Recognition. Sable blinks. What? Our wolves recognized you before we did, he says. Before we shifted. Before we knew who you were. We recognized you as ours. That's instinct, Sable says. Not choice. It's both, Malach says. The wolves choose. Then the men decide if they agree. And do you? Sable asks. Agree. All 3 of them answer at once. Yes. Sable's breath catches. She looks at them. At the sincerity. At the desperation. I need time, she says. Take all you need, Rhydian says. And space. Done. And I'm leaving this facility, Sable says. Today. I'm not staying here. The triplets exchange glances. Where will you go? Corvek asks carefully. Anywhere but here, Sable says. Somewhere I can think. Somewhere that doesn't smell like the people who laughed at me. Silence. Then Malach nods. We'll arrange transport. Wherever you want. Whatever you need. Sable stands. Her legs hold this time. She looks at them one more time. You said you'd fix the system, she says. We will, Rhydian promises. Then prove it, Sable says. Don't tell me. Show me. She turns and walks out before they can respond. Behind her, she hears Corvek's voice, quiet and broken. She's right not to trust us. Then we earn it, Malach replies. However long it takes. Sable keeps walking. Outside, news vans are already gathering. The storm exposed more than she realized. And nothing will ever be the same. What did the storm really expose? And can 3 Kings change a system they built? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next in this story that proves one person's courage can shake an entire world. Drop a comment sharing a time you stood up when no one else would. Your story might inspire someone today. The headline breaks at dawn. Evacuation scandal. Priority lists rewritten during storm crisis. Sable reads it on a tablet someone left in the transport vehicle. She's 20 miles from the evacuation hub, heading toward a safe house the triplets arranged. Alone. Anonymous. Exactly what she asked for. But the world isn't letting this go. She scrolls through the article. Names. Dates. Evidence. Someone leaked the evacuation records. Every rewritten priority list. Every resource diversion. Every Omega and lower-ranked pack delayed or denied transport while private compounds received early warning and exclusive access. The system didn't fail during the storm. It functioned exactly as designed. Her hands tighten on the tablet. She keeps reading. Investigators found the alterations buried in backup servers. Digital fingerprints tied directly to regional coordinators. Voss's name appears 14 times. Others appear more. The article includes testimony from families who waited for transport that never came. From Omegas who were told to shelter in place while Alphas were evacuated first. From people who survived because they ignored the system entirely. People like her. The transport stops. The driver, a quiet woman with kind eyes, glances back. We're here, she says gently. Sable looks out the window. A small cabin. Isolated. Surrounded by snow and trees and silence. No cameras. No crowds. No one watching. Perfect. She thanks the driver and steps out. The cold hits her immediately, but it's different now. Manageable. Survivable. She's wearing proper gear this time. Warm clothes. Insulated boots. Things the triplets made sure she had before she left. Things she never had before. Inside, the cabin is simple. One room. A bed. A table. A fireplace already lit. Supplies stacked neatly in the corner. Food. Water. First aid. She sets the tablet down and sits. Stares at the fire. Tries to think. Her scent suppressant is gone. Shattered. Destroyed. She can feel the difference. The way her scent fills the space around her. The way it feels like breathing for the first time after years underwater. She doesn't know if she wants to go back to hiding. The tablet buzzes. A message notification. She almost ignores it. Then sees the sender. Rhydian. She opens it. The investigations have started. For coordinators suspended pending hearings. Voss among them. More to follow. We meant what we said. We're fixing this. She stares at the message. Types a response. Deletes it. Types again. Suspension isn't accountability. It's a pause. His reply comes 30 seconds later. You're right. What do you want instead? She thinks about her mother. About the coordinator who let her die. About every system that prioritizes power over need. Permanent removal from emergency services. Public record of failures. Restitution to families affected. Done. What else? Her breath catches. He's not arguing. Not negotiating. Just asking what she needs and saying yes. It should feel good. Feels terrifying. She sets the tablet down. Walks to the window. stares out at snow that looks clean and untouched and nothing like the storm she survived. The tablet buzzes again. Different sender this time. Malach. Emergency protocols are being rewritten. Omega representation mandatory in all coordination roles. Evacuations prioritized by need, not rank. First draft attached. Tell us what we missed. She opens the attachment, reads through pages of policy changes, legal language, structural reforms. It's real. They're actually doing it. Another message. Corvek this time. The media wants a statement. From you. We told them no. But if you want to speak, we'll make sure you're protected. Your choice. Always your choice. Sable closes her eyes, leans her forehead against the cold window glass. They're giving her everything she asked for. And she doesn't know what to do with it. Because fixing the system doesn't fix what it did. Her mother is still dead. The people who laughed at her in that gym still laughed. The years she spent invisible still happened. Justice isn't a roar, she thinks. It's a ledger, a record, a refusal to forget. She picks up the tablet, types a message to all three of them. I need more time. 3 responses come immediately. Take it. We're not going anywhere. We'll wait. She sets the tablet aside, sits by the fire, lets herself feel the warmth. Outside, the world is changing. Hearings are scheduled. Laws are being rewritten. The Triplet Alpha Kings are facing consequences for a system they built and benefited from. But inside this cabin, Sable is just tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of carrying weight no one else wants to acknowledge. Tired of being strong when all she wants is to rest. She lies down on the bed, pulls the blankets close, stares at the ceiling. Tomorrow, she'll decide what comes next. Tonight, she just needs to breathe. The tablet buzzes one more time. She almost ignores it, then sees the notification. Breaking, Triplet Alpha Kings stripped of regional authority pending investigation. Her heart stops. She sits up, opens the article, reads fast. The council moved faster than expected. Emergency vote. Unanimous decision. The triplets' titles are suspended. Their authority revoked. Their access to regional governance removed until the investigation concludes. They're being held accountable. Publicly. Completely. And they didn't fight it. Sable stares at the screen. At the images of 3 men who ruled without question now facing the same system they created. They chose this. They could have used their power to stop it. To delay. To protect themselves. They didn't. They let it happen. Because she asked for change. Her hands shake. She sets the tablet down. Stands. Paces. This is what accountability looks like. And it's more than she expected. More than she thought possible. The fire crackles. Snow falls outside. The world keeps turning. And somewhere, 3 kings wait for a woman who carried them 50 miles to decide if they're worth carrying again. They lost everything to prove they meant what they said. But is that enough? Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter where Sable makes a choice that changes everything. Comment below. Would you forgive someone who hurt you if they truly changed? Share your thoughts and inspire others. They find her 3 weeks later. Not at the cabin. She left days ago. Started moving. Visiting fringe zones. Talking to Omegas who keep communities running while Alphas take credit. Documenting. Recording. Building something that looks less like revenge and more like revolution. She's at a maintenance outpost when they arrive. Grease on her hands. Sleeves rolled up. Generator parts spread across a workbench. The same work she was doing the night the storm hit. The same work she'll probably be doing when she's old. Because this is who she is. Not a Luna. Not a symbol. Someone who fixes things. She hears the vehicle before she sees it. Looks up. 3 men step out. No guards. No insignia. No crowns or titles or displays of power. Just Rhydian. Corvek. Malach. Looking like men instead of kings. They stop 10 feet away. Don't approach. Don't assume. Rhydian speaks first. We didn't know if you'd see us. You came anyway, Sable says. She sets down the wrench. wipes her hands on a rag, doesn't smile. We had to try, Corvek says. Silence. She looks at them. Really looks. They're thinner. Tired. The kind of exhaustion that comes from weeks of hearings and public scrutiny and consequences they've never faced before. I saw the news, she says. You lost your titles. Temporarily, Malach corrects, then pauses. Maybe permanently. Depends on the investigation. Does that scare you? Sable asks. Yes, Rhydian admits. But not for the reasons you'd think. What reasons? We're afraid we'll get them back, he says quietly. And you'll think we didn't learn anything. Sable's chest tightens. She wasn't expecting honesty. Not like this. Why are you here? She asks. To ask what you want from us, Corvek says. I already told you. Change. We're changing, Malach says. Laws, policies, the entire emergency system. But that's not what you really want, is it? Sable goes still. What do you think I want? To know if we mean it, Rhydian says. To know if this is performance or transformation. He's right. She hates that he's right. Actions speak louder than words, she says. Then judge us by our actions, Corvek replies. We walked away from power. We submitted to investigation. We're cooperating with every hearing. We're not fighting. We're not defending. We're accepting accountability. That's the minimum, Sable says. We know, Malach says. That's why we're here, to ask what's next. What else you need? What would make you believe us? Sable crosses her arms, looks past them at the outpost, at the fringe zone stretching beyond, at all the places people like her keep the world running while people like them make decisions. I need you to listen, she says. Not just to me, to Omegas, to lower ranks, to people you've ignored your entire lives. We will, Rhydian promises. I need you to step back, Sable continues. Stop leading every conversation. Stop assuming you know better. Let other voices be louder than yours. Done, Corvek says. And I need you to understand something, Sable says. Her voice hardens. I'm not your prize. I'm not your redemption arc. I'm not the Omega who forgives you so you can feel better about yourselves. The triplets flinch. We know, Malach says quietly. Do you? Sable asks. Because every story like this ends the same way. Powerful men make mistakes. A woman saves them. They claim her. Everyone acts like that's a happy ending. It's not, Rhydian says. No, Sable agrees. It's not. Silence settles. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Then Corvek speaks. What would a real ending look like? He asks. For you. Sable thinks about it. About her mother. About 50 miles. About every Omega still fighting to be seen. I don't know yet, she says honestly. But it doesn't start with me accepting a bond because you think you've earned it. We don't think we've earned it, Malach says. We know we haven't. Then why are you here? Because we want to try, Rhydian says. Not to claim you, not to own you, just to be near you, to learn from you, to become the kind of men who might someday deserve you. Sable's breath catches. She wasn't expecting that. That could take years, she says. We have time, Corvek replies. I might never choose you, Sable says. I might decide you're not worth it. That's your right, Malach says. And you'd accept that? Sable asks. Really accept it? Not fight? Not manipulate? Not use your power to force my hand? All three of them answer at once. Yes. She stares at them, searching for lies, for performance, for the cracks that show when men promise things they don't mean. She doesn't find any. I'm going back to work now, she says finally. They nod, turn to leave. Wait, Sable says. They freeze. You can stay, she says. If you want. There's work to do. Generators to fix. Supplies to organize. Real work. Not symbolic gestures. Rhydian's face changes. Hope, careful and fragile. We'd like that, he says. No titles, Sable says. No deference. You do what I say. When I say it. Understood, Corvek says. Malach just nods. Sable picks up the wrench, goes back to the generator. Behind her, 3 former kings roll up their sleeves and wait for orders. And for the first time since the storm, something that feels almost like trust begins to grow. 3 kings chose humility over power, but will it be enough to earn what they truly want? Don't miss the final chapters where everything comes together. Subscribe and turn on notifications to see how this story ends. What's more important, saying you've changed or proving it through action? Drop your answer below and let's talk about real accountability. 6 months later, the question finally gets asked. Not in a throne room, not during a ceremony. In a repurposed community center where Sable is presenting the new emergency response framework to a room full of Omegas, coordinators, and regional representatives. The triplets are in the back row, where they've been for months, listening, learning, staying quiet unless asked to speak. Sable finishes her presentation, takes questions, answers with the same clarity that carried her 50 miles through a blizzard. When the session ends, people approach her, thank her, tell her she's changing things. She is. Omega representation is now mandatory in all emergency operations. Evacuation priorities have been rewritten. Resource allocation is audited monthly. Coordinators who abuse power face permanent removal. The system is different. Not perfect, but different. The triplets wait until everyone leaves, then approach slowly. Rhydian speaks first. You were incredible. I was prepared, Sable corrects. She's packing up her materials. Organized. Efficient. That's different. Can we talk? Corvek asks. Sable pauses. Looks at them. They've changed in 6 months. Not physically. Deeper. The arrogance is gone. The assumption of authority. The expectation that their words matter more than anyone else's. They've learned to wait. To ask. To accept no as a complete sentence. About what? Sable asks. About us, Malach says quietly. Sable's hands still. She sets down the folder, faces them fully. What about us? The bond, Rhydian says. We're not asking for an answer. We need to know if it's still possible. If we've lost our chance. Sable looks at them. At 3 men who gave up power to prove they meant what they said. Who spent 6 months doing grunt work. Who showed up every time she called and stayed quiet every time she didn't. Who changed. Really changed. I thought I wanted you to suffer, she says honestly. After everything. After the gym. After being laughed at. I thought I wanted revenge. The triplets go very still. But revenge doesn't fix anything, Sable continues. It just makes the audience feel better. And I'm not interested in performing for an audience anymore. What are you interested in? Corvek asks carefully. Building something better, Sable says. Something that doesn't require people like me to drag people like you 50 miles before you notice we exist. We notice now, Malach says. We see you. We've always seen you. We just didn't understand what we were looking at. And now, Sable asks. Now we know, Rhydian says. You're not just our Luna. You're the person who taught us what leadership actually means. Sable's throat tightens. She wasn't expecting that. Leadership isn't claiming people, she says. It's serving them. We know, Corvek says. You taught us. Silence. Sable thinks about the storm, about the wolves in the snow, about the choice she made to carry them when no one else would. She didn't do it for gratitude. She did it because it was right. But gratitude doesn't have to be the end of the story. I have conditions, she says finally. The triplets lean forward slightly. Anything, Rhydian says. No public claiming, Sable says. No ceremony. No dominance displays. If we do this, it's private. Between us. Not a spectacle. Agreed. Malach says immediately. The bond doesn't change my work, Sable continues. I'm not stopping what I'm doing to play Luna for your political benefit. We wouldn't ask you to, Corvek says. And if you ever use our bond to manipulate me, to silence me, to make me smaller, Sable's voice hardens. I walk. Permanently. Understood, Rhydian says. Completely understood. Sable studies them, searching for hesitation, for resentment, for signs they're agreeing because they think they have to. She finds none. One more thing, she says. Name it, Malach says. You keep changing, Sable says. This isn't a finish line. This is a beginning. You keep listening, keep learning, keep doing the work. We will, Rhydian promises. For the rest of our lives. Sable takes a breath, lets it out slowly. Then yes, she says. I accept the bond. The triplets don't rush forward. Don't grab her. Don't perform relief for an invisible audience. They just stand there, looking at her like she's the sun. Thank you, Corvek says quietly. Don't thank me, Sable says. Prove I made the right choice. Every day, Malach promises. Rhydian steps forward. Slow, careful, giving her space to say no. She doesn't. He reaches for her hand. The one that was frostbitten. The one that still has scars from the vial she crushed. He lifts it gently, presses his forehead to her knuckles. Our Luna, he whispers. Not because we claimed you, because you chose us. Corvek and Malach move closer. Not crowding, just present. The bond settles into place. Quiet, private, grounded in consent and accountability. No audience, no spectacle, just four people choosing each other. And for the first time since the storm, Sable feels warm all the way through. She chose them, but on her terms. Don't miss the final chapter where we see what they built together. Subscribe and turn on notifications because this ending will restore your faith in second chances. Drop a comment. Have you ever given someone a second chance after they truly changed? Your story matters. The first winter drill happens on schedule. No delays, no excuses, no coordinators rewriting priorities in backrooms. Sable watches from the operations center, not as a figurehead, as the architect. She designed this system, wrote the protocols, trained the teams, and now it works. Evacuation transports arrive at fringe zones first. Omega's staff coordination desks alongside Alpha's. Resources are distributed by need, not rank. No one is laughing. No one is left behind. The drill runs flawlessly. When it ends, Sable gets updates from 12 zones. All clear, all accounted for, all safe. She closes her tablet, allows herself one moment of satisfaction, then gets back to work. Because there's always more work. Rhydian finds her an hour later. He's been in meetings all day. Policy review, budget allocation, the unglamorous reality of governance. He doesn't complain, just shows up, does the work. How'd the drill go? He asks. Perfect, Sable says. Your region's response time improved by 30%. Our region, Rhydian corrects gently. You're Luna now. It's yours too. Sable looks at him, at the man who once ruled without question and now asks permission before making decisions. It's ours, she agrees. Corvek appears in the doorway, grease on his hands. He's been working maintenance rotation, insisted on it, said if Sable can fix generators, so can he. The backup systems are operational, he reports. Tested them twice. Good, Sable says. Mark it in the log. He nods, doesn't argue about delegation, just does what she asks. Malach is last to arrive. He's been at the new Omega Advocacy Center, the one they built with funds redirected from administrative overhead. The one that provides resources, training, and legal support. The one that never would have existed before. 15 new registrations today, he says. People are starting to trust the system again. Good, Sable says. She means it. Trust takes time. They're building it. Slowly, carefully, one choice at a time. That night, they gather in private quarters. No staff, no formality, just the four of them. Sable sits by the fire. The triplets join her. Not hovering, not crowding, just present. I got a message today, Corvek says. From the Omega at the intake desk. The one who looked away when you needed help. Sable remembers her. The woman who wouldn't meet her eyes. What did she say? Sable asks. She apologized, Corvek says. Said she was afraid. Said watching you changed something in her. She's applying to join the advocacy center staff. Sable's chest tightens. Tell her yes. Already did, Corvek says with a small smile. Silence settles. Comfortable. Earned. Do you ever think about it? Rhydian asks quietly. The storm. Every day, Sable says honestly. Regret. Malach asks. No, Sable says. But I think about what would have happened if I'd left you there. If I'd walked past. If I'd chosen differently. The world would be worse, Corvek says. Maybe, Sable says. Or maybe someone else would have done what I did. Maybe the storm would have forced change anyway. But they didn't, Rhydian says. You did. Sable looks at the fire, at the warmth, at the safety she's built not through power but through persistence. I didn't do it alone, she says. I had help. 3 unconscious wolves barely counts as help, Malach says dryly. Sable laughs. Actual laughter. The sound surprises her. The triplets smile. Real smiles. The kind that reach their eyes. What are you thinking? Rhydian asks. Sable leans back. Looks at them. At 3 men who lost everything and gained something better. I'm thinking about next winter, she says. About the drill. About making sure no one ever has to walk 50 miles alone again. We'll make sure, Corvek promises. Together, Malach adds. Together, Sable agrees. Outside, snow begins to fall. Soft, quiet, nothing like the storm that changed everything. But Sable knows better than to trust calm weather. Storms come, systems fail, people make choices that hurt others. But now there's accountability. There's change. There's a Luna who wasn't claimed through dominance but chosen through respect. And every winter, Iron Ridge County drills for storms no one laughs at anymore. Because once an Omega was ignored, and the system almost froze to death because of it. The tablet on the table buzzes. New message. Regional alert. Sable opens it. Reads quickly. Her expression shifts. What is it? Rhydian asks, immediately alert. Sable looks up. Meets their eyes. There's something in her face. Not fear. Determination. Another region just had an evacuation failure, she says. Omegas denied transport. Coordinators ignoring protocols. Same patterns we fixed here. They're asking for help? Corvek asks. No, Sable says. They're ignoring it. But people are reaching out. Asking if what we built here can work elsewhere. The triplets exchange glances. Can it? Malach asks. Sable thinks about 50 miles. About every step. About choosing to carry weight when no one else would. Yes, she says. But not from here. We'd have to go there. Show them. Build it with them. That's dangerous, Rhydian says carefully. Other regions won't welcome change. I know, Sable says. They might fight back, Corvek adds. Probably, Sable agrees. You want to do it anyway, Malach says. Not a question. Sable looks at them, at the men who chose humility over power, who proved change was possible. This pack survived the storm, she says quietly. Others won't. And they'll need someone who understands what it's like to be ignored. She stands, walks to the window, looks out at the snow. They'll need us, she says. Behind her, 3 former kings rise. Then we go, Rhydian says simply. All of us, Corvek adds. Together, Malach finishes. Sable turns, looks at them, at the bond they built on consent and accountability and hard-earned trust. Together, she agrees. Outside, the snow falls harder. Another storm is coming. But this time, Sable Rowan won't be walking alone. This pack survived. Others are waiting. Subscribe and turn on notifications because this is just the beginning. More stories are coming, stories of courage, accountability, and the power of one person who refuses to be invisible. Drop a comment telling us what inspired you most about Sable's journey, and let's build a community that believes change is possible. Share this story, inspire others, and remember, sometimes the greatest act of leadership is choosing to carry someone when no one else will.